Have you ever wondered, who is this mysterious guy in Demon Slayer? A legend so strong that even Muzan Kibutsuji is afraid of him, and they had to give his doll 6 arms to barely match his attack speed. This is a story of Yoriichi Tsugikuni, a mythical swordsman and the most powerful Demon Slayer to have ever lived. This video will also have a brief introduction to this man in Tanjiro streams. Yoriichi and his twin brother Michikatsu Tsugikuni were born in the middle of Sengoku period, approximately 500 years before the current time in anime. Yoriichi in particular had a strange birthmark on his forehead, which caused his father to declare that he would kill him. However, Akeno, who is Yoriichi's mother, stopped him, and eventually they agreed that when he turns 10 years old, he would be sent to a temple and become a monk. Yoriichi grew up differently than Michikatsu, being given poorer food and education and isolated in a small 3-tatami room, away from the rest of the house. Yoriichi never spoke a word, and as a result, he was thought to be deaf. Despite his father hitting Michikatsu and telling him to forget about Yoriichi, Michikatsu pitied his brother and often snuck behind his father's back to meet Yoriichi, even giving him a handmade flute as a gift to comfort him. One day, when Yoriichi was 7 years old, he was watching Michikatsu practicing his sword swings. He smiled and spoke to his brother for the first time, declaring his intentions to become a samurai just like his brother, which startled Michikatsu. During Michikatsu's practice, Yoriichi came and asked them to teach him. One of their father's subordinates decided to humor Yoriichi and showed him a basic stance. Unexpectedly, the young boy landed 4 blows on the man, knocking him unconscious, which surprised Michikatsu, who despite his training every day, had never landed one. However, Yoriichi couldn't bear the feeling of hitting someone and renounced his goal to be a samurai. Michikatsu often asked him how did he manage to hit the man, and realized that Yoriichi was born with a special vision, which allowed him to see through the living things and anticipated their attacks based on their bone movements and muscle contractions, implying an early form of sun breathing. The boy that Michikatsu thought was weak was clearly far stronger than him. Michikatsu feared that Yoriichi would be the next in line instead of him, and that pity for his brother slowly turned into jealousy. When their mother passed away from the illness, Yoriichi went to Michikatsu's room at night to tell his brother about the news and bid him farewell, planning to leave for the temple the same night. He expressed gratitude to Michikatsu, stating that he will always keep him in mind, and fondly held the handmade flute that Michikatsu had given him earlier. And Yoriichi left for the temple, while Michikatsu never spoke a word back to him. It was later revealed to Michikatsu upon reading his mother's diary that Yoriichi had known everything about their mother's illness and her final days, how it had weakened her left side and Yoriichi would help her walk. It was also revealed that when his father heard from his subordinates, he was going to make Yoriichi his new heir and send Michikatsu to the temple instead. But Yoriichi ran away to spare his brother. Despite this kind act, Michikatsu developed an intense hatred and envy towards Yoriichi. After running for 1 day and 1 night straight, Yoriichi met a girl around the same age as him named Uda, whose entire family had died from a widespread disease. Yoriichi chose to live with her, and after 10 years, they became husband and wife. When Uta was in her last month of pregnancy, Yoriichi left to fetch a midwife, promising his wife to be back by the sunset. On his way, he helped an old man and lost so much time that he decided to come back. Upon his return, Uta had been killed by a demon, along with the child in her belly. The tragedy shocked Yoriichi so much that he embraced her corpse for 10 days straight, until the swordsman who was chasing after the demon persuaded Yoriichi to give Uta a proper burial. His dream of living a peaceful life was now gone, so Yoriichi picked up his blade and became a demon hunter. Nobody in the Demon Slayer corps could use breathing styles, so Yoriichi taught them his sun breathing technique. However, no one could match his form exactly. Undaunted, he modified it to suit their strengths and created variations like water, wind, flame, and thunder breathing techniques. The best of these demon slayers were later known as Hashiras. He later got reunited with his brother Michikatsu after the latter's samurai camp was attacked by a demon, leaving him the only survivor. Yoriichi came to the rescue and killed the demon effortlessly, and apologized Michikatsu for not being there for his brother. Soon after, Yoriichi came across Muzan Kibutsuji, the progenitor of demons, accompanied by Tamayo. Upon meeting him and seeing his magma boiling malicious intentions, Yoriichi reasoned that he was born with the skills and talent to to defeat Muzan. Muzan stated that he had lost interest in swordsmen who employed breathing techniques and performed long sweeps of his arm to kill Yoriichi. He dodged them, but instantly realized that any of those attacks would be fatal and felt fear for the first time in his life. Using his special vision, Yoriichi saw that Muzan had 7 hearts and 5 brains that changed positions in his body. Yoriichi combined all of his forms into a single attack and overpowered the Demon King using his sword, a bright red blade which is only accessed by the Demon Slayers who have awakened their Demon Slayer mark. Muzan was left in disbelief as his body wouldn't regenerate. Yoriichi glanced over at Tamayo. The demon girl didn't even try to save him and was looking at her master's dismembered body with a hopeful gleam in her eyes, like she wanted him dead. Yoriichi decided to kill Muzan before the woman, and when he took a step forward, his body exploded into pieces. Out of 1800 pieces scattered, Yoriichi was only able to cut 1500 on the spot, and the rest escaped for Muzan to regenerate again. Tamayo was left on the verge of tears as she realized that Muzan had learned how to avoid death by decapitation. Yoriichi calmed down the girl and she told him everything about Muzan, and so he let Tamayo go away freely. After that, his allies rushed to Yoriichi and told him that Michikatsu has been turned into a demon by Muzan Kibutsuji. Yoriichi took the responsibility for not being able to kill Muzan, letting Tamayo escape and his brother becoming a demon, and was exiled from the Demon Slayers. After his banishment, Yoriichi was depressed and had a lot on his mind. He wanted someone to talk to, so he decided to visit Sumiyoshi and Suyako, close friends who at one point was saved by Yoriichi. He told Sumiyoshi his whole story, while Sumiyoshi couldn't find a word to say back to him, and they both sat in silence. Sumire arrives at that moment, and at her request, Yoriichi lifts her up, making her laugh and squeal with joy, while causing him to break down into tears and embracing her in a hug. While with the Kamados, Yoriichi would be asked by Suyako to perform the sun-breathing forms, which he would do so kindly. Sumiyoshi saw his move with great detail and burned them into his memories. Yoriichi gave Sumiyoshi his Hanafuda earrings and left while looking sad. Sumiyoshi realized that this was Yoriichi's final visit. He called out to him, telling him to stop saying that he is a man of no worth. He also reminded Yoriichi that he saved them and promised to pass down the sun-breathing style through his descendants. Hearing this, Yoriichi turned around with a bright smile, thanking the Kamados family and waving them his final farewell. It's believed that people who bore the Demon Slayer mark only have a lifespan of 25 years. But despite this, Yoriichi lived until his 80s. On his last day, he would confront Michikatsu, now known as Kokushibo, one last time. Devastated at what his brother had become, Yoriichi cried and felt sorry for him. Despite his old age, Yoriichi's stance struck fear in Michikatsu, and before he could even draw his blade, Yoriichi had already sliced his neck, though not entirely off. Kokushibo waited for the next attack. However, it never came, and Yoriichi passed away from the old age while still standing up. Enraged that the one chance of battling his brother is now gone, Kokushibo struck at his brother, cutting him in half while also breaking the flute that he had given him as a child. Realizing that his brother had carried the flute with him after all these years, Kokushibo couldn't help but shed a tear and decided to keep the flute with him. Check out my last video where I explained the 12 demon moons from their backstories until the end. Also, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this video and what you want to see next. Hope you have an amazing rest of the day, and see ya.